On3.com had this story up earlier today. Shannon Terry, the On3 NIL valuation for a 2023 5-star, and there are 32 of those according to their site. Rivals has their site. 247 has their site. When looking at the roster value, collectives, the On3 NIL valuation for a 5-star player that they are tracking is $269,493. The average is at $206,000. All blue chips, that includes others outside of the 5, is $41,000. That's the average.
Well, it's getting to be good business to be a highly recruited prospect. I mean, look, if I was 18 years old and knew I was going to make $41,000, I wouldn't have much to complain about in my life. You know what I could have done with
that doesn't include what they also get from the school because of what they now are doing, those $6,000 a year and all the other things that come with that.
Do you know how much easier my life would have been from ages 18 to 22 if I had $41,000 in my bank account?
Yeah.
Do you know how much a lot of people's lives would be that they would not have had to take out a student loan?
Yeah, paid it off immediately. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good business. $200,000 for, and I get it. You're wealthy and you run a collective, and this is what you want to spend your money on. Knock it out. But I would have a problem with every recruiting class. If I'm giving 25 guys money, I would want to see at least 20 of those guys, 18 liberally, pay off for the school that I'm running the collective for. But, for example, Texas A&M has 22 players in the portal, and I believe 11 of those are from last year's class. Half of them are from last year's class. I would be a little upset that I spent 6 figures potentially on somebody who was just there for a year and left.
And they'll just give it to somebody else for the incoming class.
Yeah.
Craig?
Yeah, I don't know where they get their numbers from. I'm not doubting them in any way, but I guess we just have to trust those numbers. And it's curious to see like how that all is sort of averaging out and how that's all sort of combining together to give us a look into, on average, I guess is what that is, what schools are paying. I don't think there's much surprise there that there's a lot of money going around. Again, not sure. I'm sure they've talked to players and that's how they've gotten that. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know where the numbers come from exactly, but I'm sure that that's pretty spot on. And so, I don't know that that's really a surprise for too many folks that, tens of thousands of dollars are being exchanged. I mean, you look at some of these top prospects and they're getting $1 million deals, $1 million+ deals over the span of 3-4 years, whatever it is that they eventually agree to. I do think there's a bit too much fogginess when it comes to what actually is being passed around, because you can say average all you want to, but if Bryce Young's making $2+ million, that kind of fudges the numbers a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's still a lack of information out there, but that's at least helpful for those who care about such a thing to have a better idea of sort of what the common player is getting on any given level. So that's cool. But I'd love to actually, I guess, maybe have a bit more meat on the bone when it comes to like, oh, this guy's really getting this. But that's more helpful than just a pure guessing game. So, for the folks who are like super into the NIL thing, which I'm not, like I'm for it and all that. I'm not caught up in like, man, can you believe so-and-so? Like, I don't care that Jaden Rashada got offered this amount of money or that Nico Iamaleava is getting reportedly, whatever the rumor was months ago, $7 million. That's cool. But it's all kind of hearsay too. You know what I mean?
Until you see tax returns, I would,
if that was like a report on ESPN.com, like Tennessee offers $7 million 4 years for Nico Iamaleava, like I would be probably more into that because it would just be more substantial and more than just kind of like, well, we heard and just trust us on this, or this is what this collective told us, or whatever. But I know that that's not where we are with college football, that it's going to probably be super murky and super rumor mill and super just message board guessing. But, that's better than what we had early on. So, I'm not surprised by those numbers.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit less than we think in a lot of cases, but not that much less. Like, like the $7 million thing, like I think it may be some of the things that could be, but I do think that like he's 7 figures before he walks into his first class in Knoxville.
Well,
yeah, well, like, and how many guys have like, well, if you win the Heisman, you would. Yeah, I mean, what kind of deals are we talking?
See,
like,
I wonder if it's a need to come. Are there incentives?
Right,
Because then it really is almost more pay for play if it's incentive based.
Yeah, and you can't do that, right? That's against the rules. So it's so murky. And I know that they're doing their best job, and others who cover that part of the game are doing their best job to try and cover that as closely as they can. And certainly, we talked to their On3 NIL reporter the other day, and they've got their sources who are feeding them information. But there's a lot of schools. There's a lot of players, like there's a lot to try and track down. I mean, if you just took like the top 20 schools right now and just tried to sort through all their NIL deal, much less, I don't know, let's add another 100 and plus schools. And I know not all of them are in the NIL game deep, and maybe some of them have like a guy making like $1,000, on the lower levels. But I think just that lack of transparency and that lack of really knowing what's what, because man, is there a sport that they lie about stuff more than college football? I mean, just in general. Mm-hmm. I mean, no. I mean, it's coaches are saying stuff out of the side of their mouths all the time when it comes to their program or somebody else's program or what they need to tell this recruiter or whatever. So, it's cool to have kind of a barometer, but there is still a lot of murkiness to it that I do wonder, as NIL becomes more of a focus and becomes like a focal point of certain websites and certain companies, just how much is emphasized on that part of the game to the point of where maybe you are going to have to that's going to be, I mean, it's already become its own sort of side industry anyways, and own industry really, and we're barreling down that way. But I guess I'm saying all that to say, I wonder when we get to the point where you do see that just on ESPN.com of like, Tennessee signs this guy to this NIL deal that says this much money for this, you know what I mean? Like more like the NFL. And whether that's good or bad, we can all agree the players getting paid is not a bad thing, but the manner in which it's being done, I think, is still very much a work in progress.
I'm going to try to see if we can get Shannon Terry on. He's the one that posted this on his Twitter account. He also had this one about the same time. The current On3 NIL valuations for all active college football rosters, a 12-month projection, so an annual value, including both brand value, national sponsorships, and roster value, collectives driven, are as follows. The first column is the all value, and the second is the median. Power 5 conferences, 50,007 Power 5 average. SEC, not a surprise, they're leading the way by nearly 20 grand with the Big Ten, 8,000 ACC. The Big 12 is actually third here. Pac-12 is fourth in the ACC. Not much difference between the last three, and that's per 12 months, according to Shannon Terry from On3.com.
Pac-12 fifth. I think you said fourth, but Big 12 fourth on that.
No. If you look on the left-hand side, the left-hand side, SEC 68's first, Big 10 50. The Big 12's at 45,000, which would put them at 3. Then the Pac-12 fourth and the ACC fifth. They have them in order, but not in order of what is the annual or the average.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Like this was what I was talking about the other day, talking about NIL. Like, I don't really know how to talk about it. Like, it's like, okay.
Let me ask you a question. Is that per player?
No way.
Is that per school?
No.
Because if we know that some have gotten 7 figures, or if that's been reported, so what is that?
Can you pop that back up? I want to see something just real quick. Okay, Big 12, 45. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's just average is what that is.
If there's 85 players on scholarship.
Is there any way that Baylor or Iowa State or anybody is paying as much as what Texas is paying right now for their guys?
Or Oklahoma.
Quinn Ewers alone is probably worth like 20 Baylor players right now.
Yeah.
I mean, but hold on. But do we know that? No, right?
We don't.
That's just rumor mill too. That's just rumors that he signed for millions. That's just rumors that he signed for 2 or 3 or whatever. And so, again, we kind of know, but we don't know. And I trust that, these folks who are doing it professionally have word, and they've talked to the collective people, and they've talked. So, give credit to them for getting the information. But like in general, that's what I mean is like, we think we know, but we don't really know because it's kind of shady in terms of like solid meat to chew on. But then again, a lot of it also too is just kind of word of mouth. So to answer your question, no, I don't think that's across the board the norm. I think that there's a school like Texas who's come out and said that, they were paying, what is it?
50 grand for the
50 grand for an O-lineman, at least a few million for Quinn Ewers. I would imagine that, they've had to appease Xavier Worthy in some form or fashion. Bijan's definitely getting money. I mean, so, add that up, and that's just like a handful of guys right there versus like who would even command anything close to that on like half the other rosters in the league that would even approach Quinn Ewers' money. Very few guys, much less than you dish out $50K per O lineman, and then you go down the line. So no, I don't think it's even across the board.
It would be interesting to find out where UT would be if they were, and they're about to be here in the next year or two in the SEC, where they would stack up with those, because that number is nearly $20,000 on average. Here are some other